Warra, my country. I'm not going to say good morning because it's Saturday and I don't know when you're going to get around to listening to this one. I'm Claire Murphy. Welcome to the Solo Bureau. Happy Saturday. I hope you are enjoying whatever it is you're doing, pottering, working, sorting, whatever it is you do on your weekends. We do have a Saturday special for you today. You've heard from Callie Rintill before on this show. She's behind the very excellent Kindle Club on Instagram. The last time she was here, we spoke about the rights of the starling. This time, we both share love for a standalone. But before we launch into reviews, I first want to address the huge news from the book world this week with the announcement that after 5 very long years, we are about to get not one, but 2 new titles in the ACOTAR Universe. The first one drops October 27 this year. It's A Court of Splintered Harmony, which is reportedly 352 pages long. The second, which we'll get in January next year, is called A Court of Forgotten Melody, and it is reportedly a chunkier 928 pages. They are installments of the one story. Sarah J. Maas did tell us back in March that the next part of human-turned-fae Archer sisters, Feyre, Nesta and Elaine, and the OG high fae folk, the Lord of Night Court and many a girl's favourite book boyfriend, Rhysand, the battle-hardened Cassian, the quiet but deadly spy master Azriel, Mor the truth-teller, and Amren, the ancient being trapped in a fae body, would be broken up into several installments because when the manuscript hit 1,000 pages, she knew it probably needed to be broken up. Now, these are marked as books 6 and 7 in the series, which might confuse some of you because technically A Court of Frost and Starlight is only a novella, but A Court of Silver Flames is the 5th book, and there is another part, in fact 2 parts still to come, the title and publications of which have not been announced yet. So, to get us very quickly up to speed, the first 3 books in the ACOTAR series tell Feyre's story and her relationship with Rhysand. The 4th is the novella. That moves the series from first-person POV to third-person. The 5th book follows Feyre's sister Nesta and her mate Cassian. There is no word yet on who the 6th and 7th books will follow. Now, the obvious conclusion is that it's Elaine, who is still reeling from finding out that Lucien is her mate, something she has pretty much ignored since it snapped into place when she emerged from the cauldron as a high fae. There are also fan theories that Elaine will reject her mate bond in favour of Azriel to prove love is a choice and not magical mandate. Their powers do complement each other. He has his shadows, Elaine sees a light and visions of the future. And it would make sense that the 3 Archer sisters end up with the Bat Boys, as they are affectionately known. But there are also fan theories that Gwyn, a priestess in the library of the House of Wind in Valaris and part of the revived Valkyries alongside Nesta and Emery, is Azriel's mate because his shadows danced for her while they shrank away from Elaine. Maybe it's a love triangle. Or maybe a slow burn between Lucien and Elaine. Elaine does have a fondness for gardening and Lucien lives in the Spring Court. Fan theories include that Elaine is still experiencing trauma from the cauldron, so the bond won't really work for her until she truly accepts that she is now high fae, transitioning from her expected lifespan of, I don't know, from their previous position of maybe 40 years to now forever. Lucien could also rise to claim his rightful place as heir to the Day Court. He could find a different mate while he's doing that, possibly Vassa. She's the 6th mortal queen who takes the form of a firebird by day because she's been cursed by Cochet, who we met in A Court of Frost and Starlight, the older brother of the Bone Carver and the Weaver. Vassa is also part of the Band of Exiles, alongside Lucien and Jurian. Now, the Court of Splintered Harmony's tagline is, "What was broken will be remade." I'm going to read you the synopsis. Here we go. Deep in the heart of the continent, Cochet, the deathless, is stirring. Though he's been bound to a mountain lake for millennia, the insidious threat of his return now spreads across the Fae territories, attracting powerful allies hell-bent on reclaiming what was once theirs, the human lands. The Night Court will not stand idly by while innocents are attacked, but with Prythian still piecing itself together in the wake of the devastating Highburn War, the task of uniting is proving more difficult by the day. To make matters worse, those who rule and protect the Night Court are reeling from recent betrayals and revealed truths. The rifts dividing them seem insurmountable. But to defeat Cochet's creeping shadow, they must find a way back to each other and resurrect their former alliances. To survive, they must find a way to repair the splintered harmony all around them. Okay, moving on. A Course of Forgotten Melodies tagline is, "What was lost will be reclaimed." The synopsis for this bad boy is Prithian might never be the same again. Traditional alliances are crumbling and no amount of diplomacy seems sufficient to repair them. With the continued threat of Koschei the Deathless on the horizon, a united front is crucial and farther out of reach than it has ever been before. Bonds will be tested, power will shift, and old enemies will emerge from nightmares of the past. As the Night Court's inner circle disperses far and wide, desperate for any advantage against Koschei and his mighty allies, peace hangs by a fragile thread. But hope can be spun from the darkest of shadows, and the Night Court has its own part to play in the looming crescendo. All right, that's all I know, friends. If you have thoughts, let me know. I'll post on Instagram. We can get busy with the theories in the comments. Okay, while we wait for ACOTAR 6 and 7, my mate Callie, the force behind the Kindle Club, and I have both read a book this year that we both loved. So next, we're going to tell you all about it. Callie Rintel, welcome back to the Solo Bureau.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, look, last time we hung out, we discussed The Rights of the Starling. Today, we're talking about a book that I loved. That is a triple love score from me. It's currently sitting, I don't know if it's in my top 2 or top 3. The lineup order seems to keep changing with new books that are coming in and out of there. Although it is August now, and when you start putting, I don't know about you, but when you're at work and you start putting an 8 in the date, it's like basically the end of the year now, right?
It does feel like that, and it feels like it's flying by. So many books, so little time.
I know. I don't know what my top book of this year is going to be, but I feel like this is a massive contender. So, we are talking about The Poison Daughter today. It is my first Sheila Masterson book. Have you read any of hers before?
No, this was my first introduction to Sheila, and it definitely won't be the last one I read of hers because I love this.
Really keen to go and visit some of her other work now. But just for those of you who are not aware, The Poison Daughter is a standalone romantasy, which we don't get a heck of a lot of. Most romantasy these days is series-based, whether that's 2 books, 3 books, 5 books, 20 books. By the time we finish, ACOTAR, we'll see where that ends up.
Sarah J. Maas loves a series.
She's got many, many, many to choose from. So this book took Book Talk by storm earlier this year. And overwhelmingly, people have been pretty positive about it. But the people who dislike The Poison Daughter hate The Poison Daughter, which we'll get into in a minute.
You're in one of 2 camps. You either love it or it seems you despise it.
Despise it is the word, because people are like, did not finish, hated this, took me so long to get into it. Someone explained to me why people even like this. I was shocked. Like, did we read the same book? I don't understand.
I know. I kept doing the same. I was on Goodreads seeing some of the reviews and I was like, have they got like a different version than what I got? Because what I got was a masterpiece.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. So let's give you a quick summary. So as I mentioned before, spoilers are happening. So here we go. We're in the walled city of Lunamead, and the Caranwell family are in charge here. They're essentially the royal family, and they are born with particular magical powers. There is Harlow, the daughter, the poison daughter in question, and her magic is poisonous lips, which is something I really loved about this book. I had not come across magical powers that were given the way that they're given in this book, and the variety of powers, because her poison, so she essentially is used by her family as a weapon because she can be deployed to very easily dispose of people with a simple kiss.
Yeah, she's a great assassin, and Harlow is honestly probably one of my favourite FMCs that I've ever read because she's so sassy and so funny. Like, she's a complete badass. She needs to be in control at all times and just a complete assassin. There's no other word for it, but I love her.
Well, let's talk about her for a second, because she is essentially working behind her family's back. They use her as a tool, as I mentioned, to assassinate their political rivals. So they marry her off to this guy who becomes like a popular mayor, and they don't like him. So she obviously kisses her husband and it's good night. I think Mark was his name. And then...
Nice.
Yeah, see ya, Mark. Nice knowing you. Never got to meet you. So she, though, is essentially a trauma survivor because her family are cruel as hell. The things that we find out that they do over the course of this book is deplorable. The way that she is forced to treat her sister, the way that her sister is forced to treat her, and the next level trauma that leads to later on down the track. And we will get to the heartbreaking chapter 57, which I feel like broke me in half. But the way that she is kind of taking her own power back is just like pure feminine rage. So she is taking it upon herself to kind of run this underground assassination network where she's going out and taking out abusive men on the request of the women in her community. And that ties back into her sister's story, who was not only abused by their father, but is also abused by her husband. So she's kind of getting her rage out when she can't do that within her family by doing it secretively as this secret assassin. Did you feel that real sort of trauma theme running through this?
I did. I'm a mood reader and a vibes reader, and quite often I'm just there for the vibe. And I also quite often like to overlook some of the trauma and just go for the positives.
Did you feel like you could do that in this? Like, because there was a lot of trauma.
There was so much trauma. And like you said, chapter 57, I think, broke majority of us.
Yeah.
I'm still not over it, and I don't think I'll ever be over it. But again, I loved that Harlow was such a badass.
Mm-hmm.
So that, for me, it was like her trauma just made her strong, rather than so many FMCs in a lot of romantasy books go the other way, where they're defeated and they're small and they're delicate and they need the man to come save them. I love that she turned her trauma into power and therefore was on this massive vengeance streak of, fuck men, we're going to get rid of all of you if you are a piece of shit. And obviously in this book, a lot of them were pieces of shit.
Oh, if you are harboring even a speck of feminist rage, this book is 100% for you, because you are like cheering on this woman to just murder as many men as she can.
If this book was an album, it's Taylor Swift's Reputation.
Yep, 100% agree. So let's talk about the male character in this. His name is Henry Havenwood, which I do love an alliteration.
Me too. Harlow and Henry Havenwood.
Harlow and Henry Havenwood is just gorgeous. And he is the heir to the Mountain Haven, which is like another town that we, at the start of the book, believe was wiped out by these sort of vampiric monsters that live in the forest outside of Lunamead's walls, which they refer to as the Drained. And then all of a sudden, these people kind of pop up out of nowhere. It's like, no, we're still here. And in fact, we would like to make good on the fact that you didn't come to save us. And they're going to marry off these two as sort of heirs to their respective thrones. This is one of my favorite tropes. I don't know about you, but enemies to lovers, I think, is the best.
Enemies to lovers in a romantasy set is completely unrivaled. And the thing, looking back at my reviews, because I read this, I think, in April, and my first line is, this is enemies to lovers, the slowest burn, but in the best possible way. Because I know when you say slow burn, a lot of people go, no, I don't want to deal with 90% of a book of just tension and angst. This is honestly perfection of enemies to lovers. Like, I cannot think of another book that's done it better.
Give me more tension and angst, Callie. Like, I live for that. Like, that is what gets me to the end of a book fast, is I need to know what happens when all this tension and angst is just building and building and building. But this is also the forced marriage thing, like the forced proximity and the forced marriage thing is also another theme that I kind of have realized that I quite enjoy. And I think it's more because, you know, you feel like these characters get thrown together, and maybe if they were just in the real world going about their business, maybe they wouldn't have gotten to know each other and they wouldn't have understood each other. But when you're sort of forced into each other's orbits, they have to learn things about them. And because these two are harboring so many damn secrets, and they have to unpick that over the course of this book, that sort of forced proximity works so well.
Yeah. Should we talk about how Henry came into this book?
Yes, please.
Into the story.
Do it.
Harlow was on a mission to use her lips and have a poisonous kiss with a man that she had been told was abusive. She goes to the local pub. Was it a pub? Do they have
Yeah,
pubs?
a tavern.
The local watering hole, puts on her sexy little dress, takes off her cape, and because she's a beautiful woman, she's basically a siren to these men. And Henry approached her and they went upstairs to do what he thought was going to be a great time and what she thought was going to be a short time. They started kissing, and for whatever reason, which we don't know, he didn't die. And she was shocked. Her inner monologue there is like, why is he not dying? Maybe I need to do something else, or maybe I need to kiss him harder, or whatever it is. And at that point, we didn't know that was Henry. We had no idea that this was who she was supposed to then be getting set up with.
So Henry doesn't die. She's a little bit shocked, and they have this really hot and steamy moment. And then even the next day, she knows that she's about to meet her new fiancé. So her family has set up this arranged marriage. She's called in and she's really beholden to her family. She has to do as they say. She is very controlled by them. So she's being the dutiful daughter. She walks in, starts having a conversation, and then all of a sudden, Henry walks in the door and she realizes, shit, that's the guy I tried to kill yesterday who didn't die. And she's so confused by all of this.
He's also the first one that hasn't ever died when she's tried to assassinate them. So she's insanely confused.
We've mentioned how like spicy that sort of initial meeting was. After these two get married, they have what I think might be the spiciest marriage consummation I have ever read in my life. Because not only is it really sexy, it's really public.
Yes, they have to do it. So to consummate the marriage in this book and in this world, they have to do it in public and anyone can come and see, and he has to make her finish.
Mm-hmm.
And she can't fake it. And as she's finishing, she needs to put her hand to the headboard, which has a ancient relic that's to give an offering to a deity, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Not only is that scene so hot and so spicy, Henry's so good that they broke the ancient relic.
You can only hope to have an orgasm as good as you break an ancient relic in the process. Like,
honestly,
that was some spicy first time. Like, just, whoo, I had to put the book down for a little minute just to like catch my breath after that. Like, the spice in this book is next level.
The spice is so well written, but it's also like a lot of it is just Henry's words. It's not even what they're doing, but it's what he's saying to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the quotes that I highlighted in this was, "Are you enjoying this? Everybody watching." And obviously she's getting more turned on. And then he says, "Maybe next time I will let everyone here have their turn with you. But right now you're mine and mine alone." And then bang, he just goes to town.
Yeah. There's something about the boundary pushing in the spice in this book, even though it like that might make some people feel absolutely incredibly uncomfortable. And as we all know, like we're willing to push boundaries in our imagination that we probably would never push in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And this felt dangerous boundary pushing in the best possible way.
Yeah, it did. And it was just like most romances have a little bit of spice. Like we love a Xaden Violet moment. We love a Feyre and Rhysand moment. But this just was next level. Like I love a bit of smut in my contemporary romance, but I haven't read spice this good in a very long time.
Yeah, it was really dark. And that's the thing about this book is that it has some really dark undertones to it. And I know that you're like, I'm catching the vibes, I'm ignoring the trauma. But the reason that Harlow is actually on her vengeance streak is because her sister, who I mentioned before, Adia, throughout this book, you believe is married to a very abusive man. And he is the guy who has one of these powers that I mentioned before, like some of their magical powers are quite unique. So his power is like the power of persuasion. He can persuade people to do things. He can essentially mind control them. And she has had to work very, very hard not to be targeted by that. And she's able to kind of control that to a point. But should we shall we talk about chapter 57? Is it too early? Like, it feels like you have to talk about chapter 57.
I feel like you need to. Yeah. Okay, go.
Okay,
Oh,
we'll
I'm
do it.
nervous.
This is the moment that broke me because, as I said, throughout this book, you believe that Adia is married to this very abusive man. She's often in Harlow's rooms at the palace where her royal family lives, and she often, comes through a secret passage, and she can always see the bruises and the marks, and it fuels the fire for the vengeance to murder these men. And Henry, as we later find out, he's also lost his sister in a big battle, and he feels very responsible for that, even though he wasn't technically sort of directly responsible for it. And so he's like harboring a lot of guilt about the fact that he is alive and she isn't, and which we find out later there is also another level to that. But he then finds out that Adia is dead and has been dead this entire time. And Harlow is so broken by her sister's death that she's essentially cut herself off from that reality. And then he takes her to her sister's memorial, so her headstone. And Harlow is, you're in her head as she approaches this, and her brain is desperately trying to stop this from happening. It's like a train speeding down a track, and she desperately wants to get off and can't because her brain is telling her something bad is going to happen here, even though there's no immediate threat. And then she approaches the headstone and she reads her sister's name. And then it's like everything cracks open for her, and she then understands that for the past 6 months, she's been living in this fantasy world where her sister is still alive, because if she is not in that fantasy world, she has to face the reality, which is that Adia's abusive husband forced her with his mind powers after he had beaten his sister so badly she was in a state of shock and then unable to kind of defend herself from it. He forced them to fight each other. So Harlow and Adia are fighting each other, and then he forces them to stand on the railing of the balcony several stories up, and he tells them you can't get down until one of you pushes the other off. And they are desperately fighting his mind control, like shaking. Not only are they having to balance on the edge of this railing, but they're fighting him and his compulsion for them to push each other off this railing. And Adia, who's like the protective sister and has been trying to protect Harlow from their father and married this guy in the first place so that Harlow wouldn't have to, she kind of turns to her and says, "It's okay. Like, it's okay. I understand. I know it's not you." And that kind of snaps her. And then Harlow pushes her own sister off the balcony, and her abusive husband makes her stand there for 20 minutes and look at her body on the concrete below.
I just got full body chills again. I feel sick again. Like everything I felt when I read that just came back to me. And it's one of the more traumatizing chapters in, again, a romantasy and a well-known romantasy book that I've come across. And I just remember sitting there. I had to put my Kindle down for a minute and just stare at a wall.
I bawled. Like I also was premenstrual when I was reading this chapter. I should put that caveat in. But I bawled. Just this poor girl is so broken, and you just know, like, this is something she's never ever going to recover from. Like, this is like core memory, never forgotten, can't ever recover from. And of course Henry is there, and he finally realizes, oh shit, I thought I was outing her because she was trying to dupe me by using my sister's death as like a way of twisting his emotions to use him. And then he realizes, oh my God, she actually was so emotionally traumatized by this, she'd blacked it out. And he's then forced her back.
The thing that I found interesting with this is, like, that really does happen to people. And Sheila, again, without speaking to her, which maybe we could get her on next time, it feels like she's done a lot of research and a lot of work to figure out exactly what that looks like, what that trauma can actually do to a person's brain. Because as we know, if someone is really, really traumatized, your brain can create false memories and block it out as a form of protection, usually needing a fuck ton of therapy to unpack it all, which, if anyone needs therapy, Harlow is a prime candidate for that.
She 100% is.
I just thought the writing there was just, and again, we were just bamboozled. As the audience, we were just taken along for this ride, thinking again, Ada was alive, and we had no idea that this was even remotely a possibility. We're finding out at the same time, which I love those moments and those chapters where it's not like we know something and we're waiting for the main characters to figure it out and catch up. We're all finding out at the same time, which puts us in the scene, which is so much more harrowing and so much more traumatizing.
Mm-hmm. And this is the feedback that people who didn't like this book had, was that they felt it was too formulaic. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was not expecting that part of that to happen. Like, I was really immersed in that moment and absolutely in that scene, as you said, because it was so unexpected. And you have a little inkling that something's not right there, because her sister is never where she thinks she's going to be, and she can never find her, so that there's something not right there. But the fact that she's the one who actually killed her own sister, that is not anything you ever entertained in the lead up to that scene.
And also, why would you? And that's what I think is so great about this, is the shock value. Why would you predict that? It's not like a thriller where you kind of sit in there going, who done it? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? It's genuinely such a shock, because in what realm or world all Harlow's been trying to do is protect her family and herself and the women of Lunamaid. And then for this to come out and it's actually been her, again, not in her right state of mind, but still, it was just a massive shock. Love a plot twist.
Me too. And I think the thing with this is that at this point, I think people expected them to be more of a couple by this stage. And I think this is a thread of why people didn't like it. They felt like they almost got there, and then the next page they would ruin it for each other, which did happen quite a bit, I will say. So just when you feel like they've established themselves and they understand each other, a new secret emerges or a new revelation happens and it all derails again. So that does happen quite often, and I can understand maybe why people felt a frustration with that. But for me, that's what keeps me hooked. Like, I don't want to just be led to the happy ending immediately. I want obstacles. I want things to keep me absolutely within the scene with them, and not understanding why they've, ruined it again and again and again, because we do that in real life. If you've ever had a relationship that just doesn't work properly, you do ruin it over and over and over again. It's not like one day you figure yourselves out and you go, okay, we're good now.
Yeah, we want the trials and tribulations. We don't want just, like, if you are looking for something that is just an easy read, happy ever after, then head towards your contemporary romances. Romantasy is never going to be that kind of storyline. You're always going to have trials and enemies, and that's the whole point of this genre, is that it's not easy, and it's also not realistic, because it's usually magic, or like it's in the title, it's fantasy. Does what it says on the bottle.
It does what it says on the bottle. And that's the thing too, is like there are more secrets that get unveiled within this too. Like, Henry's essentially dead, and his sister died because he was saved. And there's all these other things happening along this storyline which all kind of come together, and it felt really complementary in a way that these two were traumatized in a very similar but very different way, and in ways that, if you were to reflect that back on real life, is probably more of how men are exposed to trauma as opposed to how women are exposed to trauma, in a very generalized sense. I'm not saying that is always the case. So you can really see its reflection in sort of real world times. But then the love between Harlow and Henry is the resistance, is them fighting back, because they're not allowed to love freely, and they're not allowed to stand up for, themselves in the worlds that they really live in. So, like, love as resistance, I think, is really, really beautiful.
Yeah, and I think the thing that you see throughout this, again, it's enemies to lovers in its purest form. The moment that they start to realize they might not hate each other. So there's a quote that they say throughout, and it's like, don't forget that you hate me. Yeah, I could never forget. And then you start seeing their internal monologue, and it's like, but maybe I don't actually hate him after all, or maybe she means more to me than I thought she did. And there's one quote in this book that I think stands out when we realize exactly who Henry is, which we'll come to that in a second. He reveals the way that she could kill him, and why he didn't die the first night they met when she kissed him, and hasn't died in their other kisses and their other moments since. and he gives her holy fire. And she looks at him and says, "You gave me a way to kill you?" And his response was, "No, I gave you a way to feel safe." And I feel like that moment was just so pivotal of wow, everything's crashed down. These two are now fully together. They love each other. The enemies have officially become lovers. And it's just magic. Like, that's the quote I see everywhere. That's the one I see in most of the reviews. That's the one I fell in love with and was like, "Oh, Henry, you wonderful, beautiful man. I love you." But is Henry a man?
He's not an alive man.
The moment, okay, so as we mentioned earlier, there is a type of enemy, we'll call them, called the Drained, and they're basically vampires with a little bit of a twist on it, but for lack of a better word, we'll call them vampires. We find out quite late in the piece that Henry is actually part of the Drained, which is why he couldn't die, because he's already dead. So the only way to kill the Drained, which we already know the way to kill the Drained, we just didn't know that he's part of that. The only way to kill the Drained is with holy fire. So by him giving that to her, it's him just fully relinquishing control, which he knows and we know Harlow is someone who needs to have control at all times. Otherwise, she's in a panic. She doesn't know what to do. So him giving her the holy fire and saying, "Yeah, you've now got an option to kill me. Take it if you want it. I know that's what this all started out to be. I don't like, are you going to do it?" And she's like, "No, of course not. I love you. You're my soulmate." And it's just so good. But so the fact that this had those two big plot twists, it had the death of Ada and the fact that Henry is the Drained, was incredible, because you think that the plot twisting is done. Plot twisting was not done.
Yeah, you think that the revelation she killed her own sister is it, and it's not even. Like, there's so much more to it. But I don't know about you, I was thinking about what I've read that gave me a similar vibe. And I think in a weird way it was the Gilded Prisoner series, where it's someone who's kind of stuck in this political world of royal families who are infighting and yet is not understanding the power they actually hold within that political system, because they feel so used as a tool, as a weapon of sorts, as something to show off and parade around, that they don't understand their own worth within that whole system. So it kind of gave me that vibe. Plus also Harlow has a security guard, which gave off very big Digby vibes from the Gilded Prisoner, which essentially this is something else I found in a few romanticies where, like, if a female main character is given a security guard who she's always trying to throw off, he's essentially her nice father figure, like, because her dad's a prick, right? So she gets a really nice security guard who looks over her and takes care of her in as much as he can as an employee of the family that he is working for. So it kind of gave me a little bit of that vibe, but a standalone, which we don't get a lot of. So this is for if you are, say you've just finished a big series, or you know your next series is going to be a big one. Like if you're, reading ACOTAR again in preparation for the next book to come out, like you are, Callie. This is a really, I'd even call it a palate cleanser, because you get such satisfaction from it. Because you know how some standalones, they're just a bit too quick and you don't feel like you get to know anyone well enough before they're gone. It's a long book. I think it's like 700 something pages.
Yeah, it's not short. And there's a popular book talker who I follow on Instagram called Kayla's Books. She's an American. She described this as, this is as perfect as I've heard it described, as candy soup. Like, you will just gobble it up. It is just so easy to love, so easy to get through, but very memorable. I haven't read the ones that you just said it's similar to, but what I think it's similar to, and gives me the same sort of vibe, mostly because of the badassery in which Harlow has, and I love a badass FMC and a romantasy, is the Heartless Hunter and the Rebel Witch. So that's the Crimson Moth duology. Similar sort of vibes, enemies to lovers. There's a bit of a love triangle. She needs to kill. She's a hunter. She's a killer. He's a hunter. And it's just so cool. So that is another one that I would recommend if you do read The Poisoned Daughter and love it. And I will say, I do think after we spoke last time about the Rights of the Starling and Shield of Sparrows and Rights of the Starling, I think I may have even recommended The Poisoned Daughter to you.
I can't remember. I mean, possibly.
I'm hoping so, because then I'll claim it.
And it also too gives a little shade of Throne of Glass, which you haven't read yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
So Aelin from Throne of Glass, like it's a slightly similar vibe to that too, but like way, way, way spicier. Like way. I cannot say way enough. Spicier.
Way spicier. But
way,
again, the spice is just so good.
It's such good spice. It's one of those ones that, I don't know, every now and then when you read a particularly like really great spicy scene, it like sometimes I just replay it in my own brain, like just because it's so good. It's like your brain just really liked that and it wants to read it again and again and again.
It's just
that's how good this
itch.
was. It is absolutely scratching an itch. The spice in this, itchy scratchy of the best possible kind. Cannot recommend enough. So for me, Poisoned Daughter, Sheila Masterson, great romantasy book. I really enjoyed it. I know there are some who struggled to get through it a bit. Maybe it's the politics of it too. There's quite a bit of sort of understanding the politics of the family and then the rival families, and there's a lot of that going on, and there's, political figures that have to factor in. I don't know if that's why people didn't like it as much, but that I thought actually made it better for me. So I'm all in for The Poisoned Daughter.
I was a 4.5 star once I finished it, and that was purely because it took me a little while to get through it. But that was a me problem, not a book problem. Since then, I think I've rounded up to a 5 because it's one of those books that it stayed with me, and any book that stays with me, I have to give a 5. Like I read 200 books a year. So if I'm thinking about a book 3 or 4 months later and I'm still obsessed with it, then it just automatically goes up to a 5.
Yep. Okay. I like that. And Callie and I wish all of you ancient relic breaking spicy scenes in your own life from this point on. Trust us, you will like it.
Charge all devices or have your partner nearby when you're reading this book.
100,000,000%.
Don't read it when ovulating if you're not planning on having any more children.
You've been warned. Callie Rintoul, thank you so much, my friend. We'll do this again next time. We're going to have to discuss what book we're going to read next.
Maybe I will get to Throne of Glass series finished and we can do that one.
It's been a long time since I read that. I don't think I can read it again at this point in time. I don't have enough time. It's like 7, 8 books. Like, it's a lot.
So many books.
And one of them is so big. Tower of Ash is really thick. It takes a long time.
Oh, no.
But I have a few that I've just read recently too. We'll have to confer and see if you've read them too, and then maybe we'll have a chat about them. Mm-hmm.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Callie.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, legends. Go enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will let you know that there will actually be another Saturday special next week. I have a very big announcement and I need your help to make sure I'm doing the right thing. That's next weekend, so stay tuned. Okay, off with you. See you Monday.